let's make sure we are live. I believe we might really be live. Who knew? All right, let's see. I'm making sure I'm actually seeing this because every once in a while, Facebook plays games with my emotions. But it looks like Facebook isn't playing games with my emotions. My hotel might be playing games with my internet, but it's not playing games with my emotions. So thank you everyone for coming in. This is Wellness Chat with Dr. Ericka. So this is a special drop-in on Thursday, and I have a super, super special guest that's here just for you because we know everyone is starting to just get on edge because it's summer. It is officially summer, and what do most people do during summer? Take vacation. And most people right now are tired of the permanent staycation that they've actually been on courtesy of COVID-19. So people, I know I talk to a lot of people, and I know Dr. Yvette has talked to a lot of people, that everyone is just almost jumping out of their skin because they feel like it's time to go somewhere. And for a lot of people, this is how they dealt with stress, which just is hard. If that's your primary way of dealing with stress is, we used to old school call Calgon, take me away. But now people, they hop on a plane or they go somewhere. And right now, most people, the furthest they're going is the other end of their house or to their backyard. So it's a huge, huge difference. And we realize people are actually struggling with this. They are not comfortable. So I'm so ecstatic tonight to have on my guest, Dr. Yvette, but we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping right at the top. First housekeeping tip. If you feel like you know anybody that needs this, please tag them. Also, if you feel like you know anybody that needs this, please share. Sharing is caring. The third, if you're watching it later on replay, it is all good. We're just happy to have you. Just take hashtag replay in the comments. We will circle back to you. Again, I am your host, Dr. Ericka, Harvard-trained, double board certified psychiatrist and best-selling author. I am on a mission to help women feel seen, valued, and whole on their own terms. But today I come to you, it doesn't matter what your gender is. I come with over 15 years of experience in human behavior, just to make sure that you get through all of this drama and chaos with all of your sanity all intact. So today, my special guest is Dr. Yvette McQueen. I always want to just say Dr. Yvette because it's just so super cool. And not only is she a board certified emergency medicine physician, that means she can literally deal with anything. And she's also known as the travel doctor. So I'd like to take a moment just to, number one, say thank you for coming on. Number two, to invite you to let the people know a little bit about you. Tell them about you.
Thank you, Dr. Ericka. Thank you for inviting me to your show. I love it. Great. So I am Yvette McQueen, MD, emergency physician and travel doctor, a global physician on a mission to educate about health, travel wellness, and disease prevention. I help people like you travel healthy and safely during your adventures. So, and of course, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I definitely want to keep you healthy and safe.
I like the idea of healthy and safe. That is some total super good stuff. So as I said before, one of the reasons we are tackling this topic is people are really struggling. Have you seen people seem like they're just struggling with this idea of not traveling and not going places?
Me. Yes, so I will admit that I am a travel addict. I have been a travel addict, and because of my job, I do what they call locums or temporary doctor. So typically, I go around the United States and Caribbean, and I'm a substitute doctor in the emergency rooms. And I was typically on a plane 3 weeks out of a month. And so when I got shut down at the end of March with COVID, because some of my jobs got canceled, so I couldn't fly. The first couple of weeks, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm sitting at home. I'm okay. By the third week, I was like, I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not packing. I'm not going through TSA. And then I did just start to go through withdrawal. I live near the Atlanta airport. So one day I actually drove to the airport and drove around the airport just to look at the planes. So yes, I do have some people I know going through travel withdrawal, because travel is one of our coping mechanisms. A lot of people use that as their stress relief or coping mechanisms. So if you think about coping mechanisms, you think of people use it for their support. People use it for relaxation. So travel is relaxation. Some people use it for problem solving. So sometimes with traveling, just planning the adventure or planning your tour is the problem solving that they do, or making sure everything comes out on time and you making your flights. And so that's why some people love travel. Of course, people do it for their, goals and interests and seeing destinations they never thought. So it's always been a coping mechanism for a lot of people when they really didn't realize it was. So this is a difference.
Yes, it's huge. And I, like Dr. Yvette, I also do what's called locum tenens. So I'm a traveling physician also. I'm actually on the road right now, but the interesting thing is traveling is so different, because someone actually reached out today and was like, hey, are you interested in doing a child and adolescent psychiatry job in Napa? And it's like, pre-COVID, Napa would have been sexy. Napa during COVID, not so sexy. So it's just interesting, because so many of our habits have changed so dramatically, and so many people, the way they deal with life is that getting away, doing something different, getting out of routine. And the one thing that happens if you aren't getting away and going anywhere is you're staying in whatever routine you're in, whatever it is, which can be just stressful for some people if that's their primary way of dealing with things, is to just get away. And now you're just in the middle of it. And we're not surprised people are feeling stressed, because even before COVID, no pandemic, no total overflow of racial injustice. Notice I said overflow, because the racial injustice has been here. It's just like an awakening of the amount of racial injustice, is that 1 in 4 adults experience some type of mental illness. So if you think of that, and then on top of the fact that people are just kind of stuck, it's pretty huge. So one of the things we've started talking about is how traveling just isn't easy during COVID. Dr. Yvette, especially since you're in the ER, can you tell people, just talk a little bit of why traveling is just such a more complicated decision right now during COVID?
Well, people, when they start thinking about traveling, you first think about travel anxiety, because they get the anxiety of, even if it's for work, oh, they want me to be in Kansas City tomorrow, but that means I got to travel. So what do I do? What new do I have to do? I have the mask. What is the airplane going to be like? So it is different. So now you think about the social distancing when you're going through TSA. It's going to be a little bit different. It's different where you just plan extra time. I tell people to check their bags so they don't have to worry about any extra things with contact on the bins. They will let you carry more hand sanitizer. So 3 things you should always carry with you when you're traveling is hand sanitizer, the sanitizer wipes, and of course your mask that you're required to have on any airplane and or any airport or any airplane these days. They won't let you board. And actually now, as of last week, they started putting a recording on that you have to have the mask on even during the flight, unless you're eating and drinking, or you can get kicked off and banned from that airline.
Well, I'm glad somebody put their foot down, because that's been one of the hugest things with this culture of the mask is, when I wear my mask, I'm protecting you. When you wear your mask, you are protecting me.
Protect me, please.
So if I have my mask on and you don't have your mask on, I'm looking you up. You are not returning the favor.
Yeah. So last week I was on assignment. I was flying back home. So I flew early June, which was okay. And then by the end of June, I came back on July 1st. More people are out traveling, and the flight was full. I'm telling you right now, I think I went through anxiety, because before I had a seat empty and there wasn't a lot of people on the plane. Now the flights are full. I actually flew with I had a double mask. I'm going to be honest with you. I had my N95, which, medical people have, plus another mask,
Yeah.
plus my face shield. I had it all on. But I usually carry my wipes anyway. So when I get on the plane, I wipe things down like the seat rail, the monitor, the seat belt, things like that. So you have to think about where you're going. Now you have to think of your steps you're going to take in your travel. When I get off the plane, I'm going to get on in a rental car. Make sure you have your wipes for that. Am I going to be in a hotel, which is very safe right now because they're doing some extra cleaning that they never thought they would do. And they're using hospital grade cleaning supplies now.
I know I don't. The other thing that's changed in hotels is now they're not servicing your room daily. So I've actually been in this room for over a month, and I get it serviced every few weeks on the weekend when I'm not here.
Right. The hotels will tell you, like, if it's every 3 to 4 days, they'll actually service you, actually change the sheets, or they'll just hand you towels. If you have room service, it's the drop out the door and go. There's no buffets in hotels. There's lots of wipes and sanitizing around elevators and things like that. And the contactless. So everyone is using their phone now for their key.
Yeah. And I think those are really good points to put up. That number one, travel, when you do travel, it's very different than travel before. And please put comments in, let us know what your experiences are with travel or how you're feeling about not traveling. And the other thing is now you have these decisions to make of whether or not to travel. So some of us are still traveling for work. And there are some people that are still trying to decide, their family's in one place, they're somewhere else, when to travel, and what makes a safe decision around travel. Because I think there are a lot of different considerations with this, because you're not just considering who you're exposed to yourself, but especially if you're going to visit people or be around people, you have to be concerned about what are those touch points or places you may be exposed to people, and what are you bringing?
Right.
So
Well,
you're going.
I wanted to see my family in DC. So this was actually in May. And they had been basically at home for 10 weeks. And I had been home for about 8 weeks. So at that point, I knew that they weren't carrying anything and I wasn't carrying anything. But I wanted to see them. The kids was 2 and 6 years old. So what I did was I traveled in my car. Made sure I was gassed up. I did it, like I said, the 1960s route. I packed food in a cooler. I packed water and ice, and I only made one stop at the gas station. I used gloves to pump the gas, which I always did pre-COVID. I always did that pre-COVID. And I had no contact with anyone. And also, I'm an ER doctor. I can go 10 hours without going to the bathroom, unfortunately. So I didn't have to worry about that either. So I drove from Atlanta to DC, not seeing another human being, and I was able to safely travel. So they're actually promoting a lot of domestic travel during the summer for people, whether you're using your car or you get a camper, or there's renting RVs for some families, and visiting things like the state national parks, or just going to the next state over. I also tell people, vacation in your own hometown. You would be surprised how much your own hometown have in tourism. Check the tourism board. You can go to the Memphis Tourism Board or the Atlanta Tourism Board and see what attractions are there. You can just make a day vacation and actually decide to do something for the summer.
Well, and I love that you're bringing up the idea of what are some alternatives where people may be able to indulge a little bit of their get out of the house travel bug without necessarily putting themselves or the people they're around significantly at risk. Because I know for me, most of my family is not in the city I live in. None of them are where I'm working. And it's just an issue of trying to decide when I can actually see my family, because the problem is a lot of them are in the high risk groups. So I have to go through two airports. I'm working in a hospital, and I know we've had some conversations offline about especially when you're going and you may be exposing other people, because it's one thing when you or someone in your household are doing a little excursion or something together, and you're who you all have been in contact with, versus when you're traveling and you're going to see other people. And I know I've talked to Dr. Yvette, and she also sometimes will quarantine or get a COVID test if she's been in the hospital before she goes someplace. So I think that's the other thing to keep in mind is there are times we may have potential exposures. And, naturally, I wouldn't go straight from working in the hospital, seeing all these people, to home to see my mama who's over 70, who takes one of my family members to cancer treatment. So I mean, it's like there are just a lot of variables that I think you have to turn over all the variables in your head, because it's not just what's comfortable for you. It's all the people that you're around when you get to your destination, especially if you're going to visit people or hang out with folks, and whoever you come into contact when you come back.
And that's just being reasonable. Like I said, I came home a week ago, and I already told my family I got to be home for 14 days. So I'm like ordering my groceries in. I haven't gone out at all. I'm staying here for 14 days. And before I decide to go see them, I am going to take a test. I am going to take a COVID test. And of course, there could be false negatives, but that's why I'm staying home for 14 days and then take the test. Because the incubation period is somewhere between 5 to 10 days. So my last patient I saw was 8 days ago. So I got a few more days to go.
Well, and it makes sense, because part of this issue is none of us want to be responsible for potentially carrying some potentially deadly illness to people we care about. Nobody wants that on their conscience. Like, I just wanted to see y'all. Sorry, y'all are in the ICU. My bad. Nobody wants to be in that position. And especially earlier in the pandemic, when people really didn't understand how serious it was, that there are people that actually that's the burden they're living with. That they took this into a birthday party that a bunch of people got sick and some people died, and then went to a funeral and some more people died. You don't want that on your conscience. You want to be able to be responsible, but I think it's also a matter of figuring out things like Dr. Yvette was talking about, of creative ways to do things close by or driving distance, or places where you're not going through so many airports or around so many people, where you have less touch points. And then, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of deciding when to travel, when the risk is worth it. Because I think that's what people are dealing with. Folks are, at first it was all these low airfares. Now the airlines are trying to recoup their money, so the airlines aren't like super cheap anymore. But it was like, I'm ready to go. And now it's like, they aren't going to let you in anyway.
I was going to say, that's another thing. So even if you get so June 1st, a lot of places start opening up, but also other countries start opening up. But the problem is, before it was like, the U.S. passport was considered the international passport. You can go anywhere you want to. Hold the boat.
You aren't even going to Mexico right now.
Oh, yes, you can. Mexico is one of the places
that's don't let it now, because they closed down that border. You can't drive across.
They closed down the border. You can drive across. You can fly to Cancun, though. But you got to check if you decide to go somewhere, you need to check what their rules are. Some of them are saying when you get to the airport, they're going to give you a COVID test. Some places are going to say if you're here, you got to quarantine yourself. Like even Hawaii makes you quarantine for.
Isn't Jamaica quarantining people too?
You have to quarantine. Jamaica is making if they think you have symptoms or you're positive, you have to quarantine for 14 days. So think, if you're planning to go on a 7-day vacation and you're stuck there for 14 days, you can't go back to work if you're planning to go back to work. Or as I tell people, one of the things when I tell people when they travel, pack all your medicine, because you never know when you're going to get stranded. Don't pack them in those little cubes. Pack them in the original bottom, because people have gotten stranded for 3 or 4 weeks and they run out of the medicine. So that's one of the little packing tips I like to tell people.
That's a great tip. And I think the other thing is before you start taking risks of going places and being brave, Even if you're driving, you need to also check with your job. Because there are quite a few places now, a lot of employers, they're putting travel restrictions on their employees.
That is so true. You know what? One of the alternatives, if you really feel you need an outlet, there's virtual tours, I'm telling people. So you can either do it yourself with your family, make it almost like a movie night, or you can actually have watch parties with friends, get 3 or 4 girlfriends, get a bottle of wine, and say, we're all gonna go on this site together. So they're having virtual tours, either like with the Smithsonian or the Natural Geographic. Some of the museums are having it. Or like the other day, I was on a virtual tour, I was going through the pyramids, just on a website for Egypt. So you could do that, and you won't be able to physically touch, but you still get the sight and the movement, and make yourself some Egyptian food and drink some wine, and you think you're there.
Yes, I was talking to someone and they did a virtual date of Paris.
Yes.
So I think there are a variety of things to do that either take your mind, your imagination into someplace, or going somewhere close by. I know people have gone to, especially this is a great time to see some of these natural landmarks and things that are around, such as state or national parks that you were talking about. But, it's just being safe and being smart, right, and weighing the risks and the benefits. And if you're someone that you just can't hold it together, then this is the time to start also exploring things that you can put in your personal coping or stress release toolbox, so that if you can't necessarily, either because of where you work or just really doesn't make sense for what you want to do. Because there are some folks that, driving an hour out of town and looking at a lake is not what they want to do.
Well, also what I've done is gone back in some of my own vacations and tours. So, you go on those vacations and you're there, you've taken all the pictures and you knew where you went. And that was 4 years ago and you never looked at them again. So I was going through my phone that had like 12,000 photos. So I said, wait a minute. Oh, that was a trip from 5 years ago. So I pulled all those pictures out, put them in a file together. And most computers, you can, on your photos app or whatever it is, make a movie or make a video out of it. So I took the photos, made a video out of it, put some music together, and then I made a virtual tour of remembering what my vacation was. And I was like, oh, I remember that restaurant. I remember that food. And that made me research and look to say, what was the name of it? I got to remember what the name of it is.
Well, I think those are just excellent creative tips of ways to kind of just work around the fact that this is not what anyone had pictured for their summer. And a lot of people would have gone on numerous trips. They feel like their passport is totally neglected and crying in a corner somewhere right now. And a lot of the things that people would be traveling to have been canceled. So not only is it simply, you might not be able to go to this country or go to this place, or it might not be safe. At this point, I wouldn't even want to go to New York or Florida
or Houston.
So, but it's one of those things where, you're looking at, just like things in the spring were canceled, a lot of conferences have all been canceled. Yeah. Homecomings have been canceled. Just a lot of things that would have been natural travel. So I love the idea that you have so many creative ways to kind of work around it, where you can still get some of the wonder of being outside of your home, but in a safe way.
Another safe way would be, if you really want to go old school. So I don't know your clientele age. So people under 35, this is the old school way. Get a book on the destination and get a picture book and go through it and look at it. Even if you just go to something like AAA. If you go to AAA, you can order the tour books and they have pictures of the different sites and the information. And most of the time that's free. But I mean, you can get it from the library, rent it from the library, or get it from Amazon, and just go through the picture book. And that's a great way to take your children to. So, I'm working on a summer camp around the world. And that's what I'm working with, is the picture books to take children through different countries.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. I know we're starting to get near the end of our time. There are a couple things I want you to recap, and then I'm going to ask you for your takeaways. What, again, were those 3 things people are supposed to have when they travel?
A mask, hand sanitizer, and your sanitizer wipes.
Wait, I have all of that right here.
Yes. And your mask.
Can't tell me nothing. I'm ready to go somewhere, but only place I'm going is home, because that's where I just want to go home. I'm one of those people.
Okay. But yeah, keep those with you at all times.
So do you have any major takeaways or pearls you'd like to leave the audience with?
I would say just look into your soul and see if, like you say, is it necessary to travel or is it a need? And if it's more of a need, make sure you're being conscious of your health and other people's health around you. And just use your imagination for travel. And that's what travel a lot of time is, as far as for coping mechanisms, as to explore different places. So use your imagination of how you can travel within your own environment and city, and maybe even your own house.
I love it. I'm down for that. So now, where can people find you?
So yes, like I said, I am a travel doctor. So I am Yvette McQueen, MD, and I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as Yvette McQueen, MD. I do lives myself about staying healthy and safe while traveling. Instagram is Dr. Travel 911, because I get really deep into more travel on Instagram. But I do have a free PDF for you. It's traveling during the pandemic, and it's at healthytraveltips.com. And of course, my website is YvetteMcQueenMD.com.
And where can they find you on Instagram again?
Instagram is Dr. Travel 911.
All right. Just want to make sure people can find you.
Yes. But you can still put in Yvette McQueen, MD. Yvette McQueen, MD. You catch me anywhere.
Yay. I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you all for coming on. I'm just really happy to be able to bring this to you, because I know people are being faced with a lot of decisions around travel and balancing your desires versus what is an actual need, like Dr. Yvette was talking about. And a lot of people desire or want to do a lot of things. Sometimes what we want to do and what's best for us are not the same. So I'm just so ecstatic and so thankful to have Dr. Yvette on here to talk about what are some creative workarounds that we can do to help get us out of this feeling of feeling stuck, because we may not be able to travel the way we want to travel, but still be able to be safe, so that when all this is over, we can all go back to going wherever we want to go, and the world is our oyster. I want everyone to be here to go somewhere later, because a lot of the decisions that we're making now will impact who all is here when this is all over. So we want everyone to be as safe as possible, so that you and your loved ones can make lots and lots of memories in the future. So that's most of what I got for that. As Dr. Yvette said, if you gotta go somewhere, have your mask, your hand sanitizer, and your wipes. Remember that all of this stuff, this is all analog. This is not digital. It's sanitized stuff. Use hand sanitizer. Wash your hands at least 20 seconds. Don't touch your face all the time. Wear a mask. Stay at least 6 feet away, and don't be congregating in large groups. It's very simple. It may not be what you want to do, but it might be what you need to do. So again, I am your host, Dr. Ericka, Harvard-trained, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am on a mission to help women feel seen, valued, and whole on their own terms. But I'm coming to you, doesn't matter your gender, with over 15 years of experience in human behavior. And if all of the stress and all of these changes are just way too much for you, I actually have something for you. I have a telepsychiatry practice. Right now, I'm only seeing grown-ups, though. So you got to be at least 18 and over. and you have to be located in Georgia, Tennessee, and now Massachusetts. So I'm seeing people in Massachusetts. So any of those states, just go to AskDrGoodwin.com and you get a free 15-minute consultation. So you can decide if we're a good fit or if I have what you need. You actually have nothing to lose by going on there. But that way, I just don't want anybody to suffer or struggle unnecessarily when there actually is help. So I want to say thank you again. I hope you have a blessed Thursday night. You have the same prescription as always. Make sure you call at least one person and tell them that you love them. You get to help fill their love bucket. They tell you that they love you back. You fill yours too. There's nothing to lose. So I'm just so excited to be here. So happy to have you. I will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock, but I will not be on my station. I will be on Dr. Lisa's because we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. So I hope to see you there. And don't forget, Dr. Yvette has all your travel needs on lock. So keep an eye out for her. And thank you and have a great night.